We are counting down the days until the primary election. Georgians are headed to the polls Tuesday on a number of high-profile races, including the race for governor. Right now, we're joined virtually by Democratic candidate for governor, Michael Thurmond. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Thurmond. I want to start off with, can you kind of tell us why you decided to jump in the race for governor?
We're at a critical moment in the history of our state and the history of our nation. Cost of living is through the roof. People can't afford insurance, food, clothing, shelter. We need a governor. We need leadership who's focused on the kitchen table issues that can help Georgians who are working so hard afford to live in our state today.
And what are some of those top issues that you'd like to tackle if you're elected?
Number one, we need to cut the sales tax in half. The sales tax is our most regressive tax. It's taking money out of the pockets of hardworking men and women. We need to expand access to affordable health care. It shouldn't matter what your zip code is or whether or not you got access to good education. We got to create good jobs, but not just create good jobs, but ensure that there's a Georgian for every job and a job for every Georgian.
We hear concerns about affordability all the time from folks. That is really the biggest issue on most people's mind. What are some of those ways that you could help ease the cost of living?
Number one, reduce the sales tax. Number two, create more scholarships for young working parents to help afford childcare. Childcare runs over $1,000 a month throughout the state of Georgia. We should help families who are working hard to help themselves. Number three, insurance companies should not be able to use your credit score and your zip code to jack up automobile premiums. We have to make sure it becomes the 10th state in the nation that prohibits automobile insurance companies from raising your premiums simply because of your zip code or your credit score.
Metro Atlanta and the coast are thriving, but many areas, such as rural communities, are not feeling the same benefit. How do we improve economic conditions across the entire state?
Well, I was born and raised in rural Georgia. My natural political habitat is rural Georgia. We have to invest in public education. It shouldn't matter whether you're urban, rural, suburban. If you're a child, you ought to have access to a quality education. That means fully funding our QBE funding formula for public education. We have to pay our teachers a salary that ranks us above the Southeast region. We also have to invest in jobs. We need an education system that has multiple pathways to success. White collar, blue collar, no collar is not the color of the collar, but it's the green in the dollar that makes all the difference. We have to let our young people know that it's just as good and great to enroll at Fort Valley State or Macon State as it is to enroll at Macon Tech. All of those are good options.
Data centers are a pretty big concern for some of our viewers. The developers are promising jobs and needed tax revenue to communities, but a lot of folks don't want these things anywhere near their homes. How should the state go about regulating them?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the people who own the data centers are paying their fair share. We shouldn't shift the cost of improving infrastructure to ratepayers. If you're going to generate and build these huge data centers, you need to invest in doing it. Number two, we have to protect our natural resources, particularly water, because they are great consumers. And number three, most important, we have to make sure that these data center operators invest in making sure that we have the most AI proficient workforce on the planet. I'm going to have a certificate program at every tech school, free of charge for any Georgian who wants to go back and get entry-level training in AI. Look, it's here. Unless we tame it, we'll be victimized by it.
In addition to being labor commissioner, you also led the DeKalb County School District. What are some ways that you'd improve education?
Well, first and foremost, we have to pay our teachers a salary that ranks us at the top of the Southeast and not the nation. Secondly, we have to weight the funding formula. Right now, we get extra money to educate young people with disabilities, as we should, with extra money for students who speak English as a second language. We need to provide extra funding to those schools and school districts who are educating children who come from socioeconomically disadvantaged homes. We have to also recognize that growth is equally as important as achievement and celebrate those teachers and schools and students who are growing, even if they're not achieving. Growth should become a major component as to how we rank our schools. And last but not least, it's all about the parents. We have to make sure that it's not just teachers and administrators and students, but parents have to be a partner in the education process.
And finally, before I let you go, the Democratic primary is quite crowded and almost certainly headed to a runoff. What do you think sets you apart from the rest of the field?
Track record, not promises. I've asked voters not just to listen to the promises. All politicians make promises, but I have a track record having served in the legislature, having served as director of the Department of Family and Children's Services, helped 90,000 people get back to work. As labor commissioner, we helped over 300,000 people get back to work. We saved the school district and turned the county around. I have a track record and not just promises. I'm tested, I'm proven, and I'm ready to serve.
Mr. Thurmond, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a great day in Middle Georgia.